Welcome back, one and all, to another community ranking. You all seem to enjoy the Hollow Knight community boss ranking I ran recently, which you can watch here if you haven't done so yet. So I decided to take it out for another round. This time, the NPCs of Hellenes battled it out until only one stood supreme. Just like last time, each day I introduced a bracket of 4 NPCs from different seeds for the community to vote on, with the most popular of the 4 moving to the next round. Unlike with the bosses, where I based the seeding based on my personal opinion of all fights, I did my best to predict how popular any given character would be and assigning where they'd fit from Seed 1, very unpopular, to Seed 4, very popular. If you'd like a bit more context on why the brackets are formatted the way they are, I recommend checking out the community boss ranking video, as I go into more depth there. Also, YouTube polls sometimes round in funny ways, so some of these polls might come out to 99% or 101% total. A character was determined to be an NPC pretty simply. If they were listed on the Hollow Knight Wiki's NPC page, they got on the list. There were 2 notable exceptions. As the bracket needed 48 competitors, but the NPC page technically lists 50 characters, I cut Grimsteed and Unnamed Moth from the list, as the former has no dialogue, and the latter doesn't even have a name, so they seem like the 2 most obvious candidates to not make the cut. Notably, none of the spirits are listed as NPCs, as they have their own separate designation within the game, and so they were not included. However, if you would like a community ranking for the ghosts, we can do that too. Honestly, I'm just happy you guys have been enjoying these polls, so I'm looking to keep making them. I've got a few more ideas I'm working on at the moment, but if you'd like to make a suggestion down in the comments, please do so, and I'll look into it if I'm not already doing so. All that being said, there's just one thing left to do, and that's talk shop about Hellenes' colorful cast of characters, and which ones are your favorite. So, let's get to it. To start, we're looking at Divine, Confessor Gigi, Charmlover Salubra, and the Nailsmith. Divine, unsurprisingly, comes in last place with 3% of the vote. Doubling her votes is Confessor Gigi with 6%. In second place, Salubra charms just 11% of the community. And with our first landslide victory of the bracket stage, the Nailsmith gets 80% of the vote. Our second bracket sees Millabelle the Banker, Leg Eater, Tiso, and Izelda butting heads. Despite being an absolute tool, Millabelle manages to scrape out a whole 6% of the vote. Leg Eater comes in third with a flat 10%. Tiso, my baby boy, does admirably, but not admirably enough to make it out of the bracket stage. He gets just 31% of the vote. And this round's winner is Izelda, with a sweet majority of 53%. Moving into round 3, we're looking at Steel Soul Jin, Little Fool, Nailmaster Mato, and the last/old Stag. In an unsurprising turn, Steel Soul Jin loses this round with 3%, which is not at all surprising given how few players have probably even met them. Just barely beating them out though is the Little Fool with 4%. Nailmaster Mato comes in second with 13%, but unfortunately his dad energy doesn't have a chance against the ultimate grandpa, the Stag, who gets 80% of the vote. Next up, we're looking at Tuck, Lurien the Watcher, Nailmaster Oro, and Hornet. Tuck and Lurien take a joint last place with 3%, which is actually pretty funny considering how many fewer people know who Tuck is. For first and second place, it's a battle between tsunderes, but Oro frankly stands no chance and gets only 11% of votes on his side. And the big winner is, surprise surprise, Hornet, with 83% of the vote. If only we were getting Hollow Knight Nails of Legend instead. The 5th day of polling saw the community choosing between Nim, Mr. Mushroom, Snail Shaman, and Nailmaster Sheo. Nim comes in last with 4% of the vote. In third is the Snail Shaman with 11%. I do enjoy some Mr. Mushroom, but I admittedly did not expect his fanbase to be as big as it is, as the Funny Fungi launches into second with a whole 25% of voters. Nailmaster Sheo wins this one though with 60% of the vote and will be representing both his bros in quarterfinals. For the last matchup on this side of the bracket, we're looking at the Godseeker, Brum, the Hunter, and Sly. The Godseeker pulls up at the bottom with 8% of the vote, which is, to her credit, the most a last place participant has gotten up until now. Brum takes third with 11%, and the Hunter picks up second with 27%. However, this round's winner is none other than the shrewd shopkeep himself, it's Sly with 54% of the vote. Moving over to the other side of the bracket, we're starting with Fluke Hermit, Bardoon, the Seer, and Quirrell. This was an unfortunate bracket to be part of, not gonna lie. The Fluke Hermit stands absolutely no chance, but impressed me by getting a whole 2%. Now, both Bardoon and the Seer are awesome characters that both deserve love and attention, and in an alternate timeline, maybe they would have. But today, they come in joint second place with 6% of the vote each. Yeah, Quirrell takes this one with a whopping 86%. Next up, Willow, Grubfather, Relic Seeker Lem, and Zote duke it out. Willow understandably pulls up at the bottom with 4%, followed up by Grubfather taking 15% of the vote. Relic Seeker Lem might be my favorite NPC overall, but I'm not surprised he loses in the bracket stage. He takes second with 26%. And of course, Zote grabs first with 54%. Come on guys, we were so close to making him win with 57. Following them were Moss Prophet, Monoman the Teacher, Elderbug, and Cloth. Moss Prophet goes home with just 3% of the vote, and Monoman does not fare much better, scrounging up 6%. I expected Cloth to do pretty well, all things considered, so I was surprised to see her get second with 21% of the vote, which makes this round's winner Elderbug, who got 71%. I think he deserves it, but I'm still impressed. With only a few rounds left, we're looking at Eternal Emilicia, Hera the Beast, Myla, and Cornifer. Hera beefs it with just 3% of the vote. Emilicia does slightly better and takes third with 4%. I love Myla dearly, but it is no surprise she takes second place with 24% of the vote here, which of course makes this round's winner Cornifer with 69% of the vote. Nice. The penultimate matchup takes place between the Distant Villagers, the Grey Mourner, Bretta, and Grim. The Distant Villagers pop in the last with 3%. Grey Mourner is a cool character, but you know what's not cool? That flower quest. They take 6% of the vote home. Bretta gets 10% of the vote, netting her second place, and this round's winner is Grim, with 80% of the vote. And now for the final bracket. We're looking at Midwife, Maskmaker, White Lady, and Dung Defender. Another last place winner with 3% is the Midwife. Maskmaker does pretty well considering how out of the way an NPC they are, and takes third with 10% of the vote. The White Lady, despite being pretty important story-wise, only gets 14%. As you may have guessed though, that means that with 73%, Dung Defender is headed to quarters. Moving into the quarterfinals, matchups have once again been reduced to 3 per round. A lot of great NPCs have made their way here, yet many others didn't make the cut. If you're like me and some of your favorites just didn't have what it took, that's okay. This is a community poll. They're still your favorite, and that's what really matters. Our first quarterfinals match sees the Nailsmith, Izelda, and the Last Stag duking it out. Izelda is an awesome character, but she really doesn't pack the emotional punch of the other two contenders, so it's not surprising to see her take last with 13% of the vote here. The Nailsmith, despite being quite popular, does only take 90% of the vote, nabbing second. The Stag really hits the ground running on this one, soundly securing a spot in semis with 68%. Next up are 3 characters who know their way around a blade. It's Hornet, Nailmaster Sheo, and Sly. Just like the boss ranking, I think Sly takes a pretty undeserved L here, only getting 12% of the vote. But it's not as egregious as last time, seeing as Nailmaster Sheo is one sweetie of an NPC and beats out his master with 13%. Hornet then is the clear winner, moving to semis with 75%. No contest here. The third quarter matchup is Quirrell, Zote, and Elderbug. Zote's fans keep forgetting to come out and support him, it would seem, as he takes last place with 14% of the vote. Guess they're all just following Preset 1 and choosing not to take part in a battle they know they've lost. Elderbug's a sweetie, but not enough of one to get more than 18% of the vote and takes second. And Quirrell is the winner of the round with 68%. The last quarterfinal matchup is between Cornifer, Grim, and Dung Defender. Dung Defender unfortunately takes last with just 21% of the vote. Cornifer gets second with 38%. And y'all, how? Like, I get it, I simp for Grim too. He's a tall, sexy vampire that dumps his kid onto you and never pays child support. What's not to love? But our friendly mapmaker not making it to semis is something I still haven't come to terms with, if I'm being honest. But hey, the community has spoken, and Grim takes first with 42% of the vote. Only 4 contestants remain. 2 of them had the nice advantage of having boss battles, which no doubt made them more memorable as characters, but all 4 of these friends are known fan favorites. So let's see how they did. On the left side of the bracket, we're looking at the Stag and Hornet. Despite the Stag having a wonderful backstory, lots of flavor dialogue, and acting as a real friend to the player throughout their adventure, there is probably a reason the sequel game isn't featuring him. The last Stag takes his last stand and gets 40% of the vote, and Hornet takes the win with 60%. On the right side of the bracket, Quirrell and Grim go toe-to-toe. Grim's massive appeal took him quite far into this competition, but paired up against Quirrell, who is one of Hollow Knight's most well-developed non-playable characters, he didn't stand much of a chance. Grim takes 25% of the vote, and Quirrell heads to the finals with 75%. And we've got our finals matchup set, but as usual, before we do, let's give our semis losers one last chance to take home the bronze. We're looking at a battle between the Stag and Grim. Grim, once again, doing quite well considering that as an NPC, he doesn't do much more than give you a quest and a charm. He takes 4th place overall with 33% of the vote, which means that our 3rd place winner is the Stag. I'm really happy for him. Now, time for the finals. Who will come out on top? Will it be the stepsister of Silk Song and sequels, Hornet, or Monomon's masked mensch, Quirrell? Both of these characters are really awesome, and while neither is my personal favorite, I think they both deserve the praise they're getting. It's no surprise that Hornet is getting her own game, and frankly, if Quirrell got one of his at some point, I think people would be pretty happy. So either way, this is a win. Coming in 2nd place and grabbing the silver is Hornet, with 41% of the vote. She's got some great battles, has an important connection to the knight, and is a badass femme fatale who I cannot wait to explore Farloom as. And the winner of this ranking is Quirrell, a wonderful explorer you meet many times on your adventure and develop a real kinship with before his own arc wraps up quite neatly and bittersweetly. Congratulations once again to all 4 of our final contenders, and congratulations to Quirrell for his big win here. Thanks once again to all of you for participating, because this very literally would not have been possible without you all. We all know it, but it bears repeating. Hollow Knight is an amazing game, and being able to celebrate it like this is a lot of fun. So I hope you'll continue to join me in the future for more community rankings, and if you'd like to make sure you're being notified of polls, videos, and other related content, consider subscribing. Please leave your comments down below how you felt about this ranking, and if you'd like to offer any suggestions for future polls, I will more than happily read all of them. I've been Technovoid, and I will see you next time.